Hello, welcome once again to the J Lowe Artist YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me on this artistic journey. And today we'll be working with colored pencils. So you'll need your number 2 or HB pencil, kneaded eraser, and some good quality colored pencils. Thanks for drawing with me. Thanks for being open and willing to draw with me. I know it's not always easy. Hopefully you'll learn something, hopefully you'll have fun, and hopefully we're going to really concentrate on complementary colors and mixing complementary colors. For example, up here in our wolf's little mouth right here in his nose, and even in his back there, if you would translate that into a color that's on the color wheel, what color would that be?
Gray. Blue.
Gray is not on the color wheel.
Yellow.
So,
It's purple.
yes, thank you. I'd probably go purple or blue, blue-violet, and mix it with a little bit of its complement. What is the complement of violet? Yellow. So if you mix yellow and violet, you're going to get this kind of gray-brown. And so that's what I want to do. I want to concentrate on mixing those complementary colors. First thing is composition. Let's figure out how our composition goes. So we're going to draw it first with our pencil. Remember, your subject matter should come close to or touch 3 of the 4 sides. So if we have his little backside over here somewhere, and we say his little nose is going to be up in here somewhere, then you can kind of say, well, okay, his head's going to be somewhere around in here. He's got his little body over here. His little leg is going to come down here. And so you just start throwing it in. This is not perfect. When you start out drawing, start out with simple shapes like this. Simple. Then you can start adding things to it. Even his little paws are just simple shapes. Don't read too much into it. And I hope you're still drawing like this. It's a lot faster. Hope you haven't reverted back to your incorrect way of drawing. To me, this is enough information because I can go from there. Remember, everything we draw, we're going to get rid of with our graphite, because in a war between graphite and colored pencil, graphite always wins. So we got to get rid of the graphite. A couple of things we can do here. We could, if we wanted to, start with black, but I don't see anything in there that is uber black. A little bit maybe on his chin, maybe inside his mouth, maybe over here behind his ear, maybe under here a little bit, but that's about it. So rather than start with black, let's start with that purpley color, because that purple can go anyway. Maybe that's why I like purple, is because you can do so much with it. So I'm just going to get out of my set. I'm going to get purple or violet. I suppose you could use blue as well if you'd like to. You're never going to use this again, so you can put that away. So I'm going to start with my purple here, and think of this purple pencil kind of like ink, where you don't draw a line around things. Just pick out the darkest areas and put those in. I'm going to start left to right with his ear. I'm just going to go in and say, okay, if that's his ear, there's a little scribbly there. I can skip a little bit, pick some up over here. Again, think of this kind of like ink. If you think to yourself, I'm not sure I should draw that in, don't. If there's an edge, a shape, a line, don't draw it in. When in doubt, leave it out. The edges, instead of doing a line, just do these little soft, fuzzy shapes. The cool thing about colored pencils is you can just scribble them in. So I can just go in there and scribble, 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 scribble. Even his back, because you want it to look soft. Here's his little nose. I'm just going to leave a little space for his tooth. He's got one little tooth right there. This part of his chin is very light, so I'm going to leave it out, start it up there, leave it out down here, and maybe pick a little bit up right there. So if you got rid of that graphite, it kind of looks like ink. And that's kind of what you want to do. Remember, I'm trying to break you of that habit of drawing lines around everything. Just draw what you need. Let the rest of it take care of itself. If you don't need that edge, don't draw it in. Now I'm going to use that purple to just shade in, scribble in some of those shapes of dark and light. If there's a little texture in there, you can use the kind of like ink, throw in a little bit of texture. If it helps especially to define the form. This is a little eye. You can barely see his eye in there. If it's dark, go ahead and throw it in. First time I remember being very good at drawing is when I was in school. I was probably in 3rd grade, and my teacher got really mad at me because I was always drawing. And one day I had this little competition with a friend in class, and it became a little distracting. Yeah. And she got angry with us and made us stay in from recess. Well, I didn't mind that because I could draw. So staying in from recess, I was drawing, and all the kids started coming in from recess watching me draw. So again, she's kind of angry with this, and she's like, you guys need to be outside. And they decided they were going to have a little competition. So it was me against this other kid, and the class got to vote on whose they thought was better. Yeah. I can't remember what we were drawing, something Disney, I think, like Peter Pan or something. I can't remember. Anyway, the kids voted on mine, that they thought mine was better. And that's the first time I remember thinking, oh, hey, I can draw. So all through high school, I drew. I drew in math class. I drew in English. I drew in science. I mean, every class to me was art class. So I learned how to draw the incorrect way. Nobody taught me how. So when I got to college, and by the time I didn't go into college to be an artist. I actually started out in radio, television broadcasting. I used to work for radio stations and did DJing. And it wasn't until I was married, and my wife's like, you're kind of miserable. What do you really want to do? I said, I really want to be an artist. So she said, okay, where do we need to go? And at the time, there was a really good art guy at Utah State. So I said, I need to go to Utah State. So we packed up and moved to Logan. And I started school at Utah State when I was about 22, 23. Yeah. But I had to work because I didn't have scholarships or anything. I should have buckled down and got a scholarship. So that's my word to the wise. Get a scholarship. You know, your job is being a good student, and it will pay off. I told my kids that. I had a son, and he wanted to get a job. I said, no, you be a good student, and it will pay for itself. He ended up getting a full ride scholarship that was worth thousands. He'd never make that much money in a job. As it turns out, I graduated in commercial art, became a professional artist, and then I thought, I want to go back to school and be a teacher. I know, crazy, huh? What I'm doing here is I'm just looking at all the darkest areas, scribbling in those dark areas, and then erasing my graphite. So I'm trying to get rid of that graphite as soon as I possibly can. And I'm just scribbling in a little bit of value. I know that that backside's kind of dark. So just scribble in that little backside. And voila, you got it. So when you get rid of your graphite, you'll notice your colored pencil kind of stays. You do get rid of a little bit of it, but for the most part, it's going to be there. So once your graphite is all gone, then you don't have to worry about your colors turning muddy, which they will do if that graphite's there. You can use your colored pencil kind of like a normal pencil and start putting in some values, shading some the darkest areas in. You can even use that to create a few textures. And nobody really cares about the fur if it's exactly right. But putting in some of that texture helps to define the form of your object. So it makes it look rounder, whatever. So just keep that in mind. Remember, value here is more important than color. So I'm just try to create some darker values. I think also there's some blue in there. There's quite a bit of blue in there. So I'd go ahead and add some blue if you wanted to. Which blue would you add? You've got 3 blues, and then there's that turquoisey green. I think I'm just going to go with the normal blue. Like I say, just kind of depends on you. What do you feel like? Some of the darker areas, I'm just going to add this blue on top of that purple, and it's beautiful. And maybe even put some of this blue in some of the textures. So just by this, I mean, if this were a white wolf, then just these colors would look all right. But it's not a white wolf. So what color would you add to it?
Orange.
Yeah, so if you have a yellow orange in there, which I do, there's this golden yellow, which might work well. This orangey yellow might work well too. So I think we'll try that and see what happens. What's going to happen to the purple with yellow? Yeah, what's going to happen with the orange to blue? Okay, you see what? So we've got purple and blue, and we've got yellow and orange in this pencil. So let's see what happens. Let's just have fun with it. Now, one thing you got to remember too is the last color you layer, the last color you put on top, is the one that's going to be more dominant because it reflects more light. So if you want it to be cool, put your blues on top. If you want it to be warm, you put your yellows on top. So see what's happening to that yellowy blue? It's kind of turning gray or that kind of gray brown. Some of this, though, I may want to bring that out and just warm up that little area. So it might get a little warmer as it comes up in there. So look how nice and warm all of a sudden he got. So like I say, color is not important here. Just you can just add whatever color you want to in there, whatever feels right. But don't be shy about color. In other words, just go color crazy. Have fun with the color. It's not about the color, it's about the values. Because I want my some small areas to pop, I want them to kind of stand out a little bit. I need a thing called contrast. Contrast is one of the principles of art. And even though in Art 1 we talked mostly about elements of art, we still need that contrast. So I'm going to take black and just here and there, wherever I feel like I need it, I'm going to add a little bit of black to it and it's just going to pop. It's just going to come off the page. And so that's what I want to do. I want to just start out with a little bit of black, and I don't have to go everywhere, just here and there. Nope, this is my black colored pencil. We don't do graphite anymore. Again, I'm just looking for the darkest areas, but see how that just makes it pop? Just that little bit, doesn't need much. Just here and there. I don't want to leave anything black, by the way. All that black, I'm going to go over that with either purple or blue or some other color so that it's not black. Black by itself is not a very appealing color. And whereas black is all the colors mixed together, it'll work out fine. Any textures, anything that you feel like you need in there that needs to be a little darker. So this black, all it's doing is getting the values, making it go darker, but it's also mixing with all those other colors. Magenta, which is kind of a reddy purple, kind of a red violet. But remember, I've already got blue in there. I've got red. I've got orange. If you do a little magenta on top of that, where it hits the orange, it'll turn more red. Where it hits the blue, it'll turn more purple. But it just kind of gives it a whole nother dimension of color. And that's really what we want to do is kind of make it bright, make it beautiful. So try some of that yellow into it. It'll warm it right up. It'll take the purple right out of it. Also, if that yellow hits some of that blue and turns green, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. There's a little bit of green up in there. And at this point, I'm just scribbling in color. That yellow is too bright on the camera. It's not that bright back here, by the way. Just saying. Rainbow wolf, that's a good one. What's the Norse wolf that brings in Ragnarok? Fenrir? Fenrir the wolf? More purple on top of that yellow, just here and there. Some parts I'm going to leave yellow, some parts I'm going to leave a little more purple. So all those colors are now starting to mix and create that value. And it's kind of a kaleidoscope of color and kind of fun. But remember, it's the values that are more important, not the colors. So my purple now becomes the dominant color, and even over that yellow turns kind of gray, but yet it's still purple. I mean, it kind of looks gray, but it's not. When you're pretty close to being done with the wolf, remember we can't have a floating wolf in the middle, so we have to do something to the bottom. The cool thing is all those rocks and everything that are under there, you don't really need to draw the rocks, just do a few little shadows. So if I just come over here and just throw in a couple little shadows, and they can just be floating out, not really connected onto anything. And your viewer goes, oh, okay, I get it. It's rocks. I feel like I need it a little warmer here or there. So maybe some of that magenta or orange in there would be okay. Let's try some orange. Again, remember the orange over the purple is going to turn it gray. So if it feels a little gray, that's probably going to be okay. But it'll warm it up a little bit. Last thing you want to do is sign it. Hopefully you enjoyed this though. And hopefully you learned a little bit about color that maybe you didn't know in the past. And had a little bit more experience with drawing forms with color. And hopefully, somewhere down the line, art has made your life a little bit better. And I hope you all have a lovely day.